Welcome to Leaders and Learners. My name is Tanya McKenzie, and you can find me at the intersection of public relations and leadership. Join us as we talk to organizational leaders, elected officials, experts, authors, artists, and personalities, sharing their stories, talking about how they got to where they are and how they continue to learn and lead the way. So without further ado, let's get into it. Greetings, good people. Welcome to another edition of the South Bay edition of Leaders and Learners. Today, you guys get to learn about a little bit about parking and, some of those local issues that people aren't happy about, but they also don't know how to solve that problem, who to go to. And we have our usual panel, my special co-hosts, Paul and Miriam. And today, I don't know if you guys get this newsletter, but I get it and I absolutely love it. We have Andre. He's going to tell us about his publication, which I absolutely love getting now. But before we get into that, it's been a minute. So roundtable real quick. How's everybody doing? Paul, how are you doing? Miriam,
I'm
Andre?
doing great. Really enjoying the Olympics. It's a lot of fun to watch us win and compete. And I've watched new equestrian events I'd never watched before, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. So it's been a good summer and things are finally warming up and my hair's growing and the plants are growing because the sun's out. So I'm grooming and trimming, and we'll be talking about trimming plants soon.
Love it. Miriam, what's going on with you?
Oh, everything's wonderful. Enjoying the remnants of summer, spending time with the kids, spending time with family, and enjoying these days before school starts back up and homework starts back up and all the activities and the stress. So just trying to just eke every moment out of these last few, weeks that we are, lucky enough to enjoy here in beautiful Redondo Beach.
All right. Andre, let the people know just how you're doing, and then I'm gonna let Paul introduce you.
Okay, sounds great. I'm doing good, and I'm enjoying the rest of the summer, and before my daughter goes back to school. So, yes. So I'm doing good.
Love it. All right, Paul, take it away.
Well, not everything is great in Andre's life. Andre is a lifelong resident of Redondo Beach. He was fortunate enough to purchase a house his parents grew up in, or his parents raised him in, and he lives up in North Redondo. So he's gotten himself into a situation with the city that a lot of us might find ourselves in, and he's taken action to get the word out about what's happening. He's going to further explain that to us, but it all has to do with hedges and sight lines in the city. So take it away, Andre, and tell us what you've been up to.
All right, sounds good. The city contacted me because my hedges were too tall. And apparently, as I was digging into this, there are restrictions to hedge height and fence height in the city. And it's grown to a point where the city doesn't want to talk about it and discuss how we can amicably resolve this matter. They have now filed criminal charges against me. So that's.
And Andre, is that actually, are they criminal or are they misdemeanor charges?
They're misdemeanor charges, and as I found out today, it's basically a citation.
Sure. But that has implications because this is a code enforcement issue. They can make your life difficult if you needed to do something else to your house, like dig a trench or remodel a deck or something like that. If it's something that needed any kind of city permit, they can hold you up in that respect. I don't know if you've thought about that because I've had to deal with planning and permitting in city. I see all the devices they have to make life difficult for some people. Now, your hedge, tell us about your hedge and tell us how maybe this got onto the radar of the city.
Yeah. So basically these are dormant ordinances. So they're not enforced all the time unless a neighbor, you have a disgruntled neighbor, and then this becomes an issue. At this point, because the city really hasn't enforced it across the city, we have estimated about 30% of the homes, if you just drive down the neighborhoods, 30% of homes that have trees such as mine and that are in violation.
Now, is it a tree? Is it a hedge? Is it a boxwood? I mean, is it you know?
It's a series of trees, and you know, and it has made into a barrier or so.
Is there
which is very, very common. You know,
is there a picture or image of this somewhere that I can show the people? Is it on your website at all, Andre, or no?
It's not on the website, but I've shown similar properties.
Yeah. You probably don't want to put a picture of your own house on the city, you know, for everyone to see. But it sounds like the situation is pit neighbor against neighbor, which I think is really unfortunate. But it sometimes that's the way these things, you know, come about. And as you said, it's somebody had a problem with it, so they brought it up, and the city took action in kind of a blunt way. Did you actually get a warning, and did you have time to respond, and how would you respond?
So yes, so the city sent me a certified letter, and so I did respond to that, and I requested them to set up a conversation so that we can discuss it. And the next response I received from them was this notice of arraignment. So
and have you taken that any further? Have you talked to them, or is it, you know, time to lawyer up?
At this point, I think I need to contact the city prosecutor to just find out what the next steps are.
Oh, brother.
You know, and all we were trying to do was, you know, the neighbor. We're in such a dense neighborhood, and my house is a single-family house, single story. We've got these monstrosity 2-story houses on each side of us, and the neighbor's balcony is 5 feet away from our deck. And the purpose of this, you know, purpose of us putting the trees was twofold. Was when the neighbor enhanced his fence, it was really ugly, and he didn't want to do any. He didn't allow us to do anything to it, and so our only remedy was to put trees in front of it, and it looked beautiful, and it solved multiple issues.
Well, that's you know, you can't be asked to do more or less. I mean, it is your property. And it's funny how this little issue here is really endemic of what's going on in Redondo and personal property rights and what you can do, and it's fence lines and not to sound too ancient, but Mark Twain had a saying that good fences make good neighbors. It's actually in our ironic statement. He didn't mean it that way. Good neighbors don't need fences, but this is the situation we're in. And literally, you can build a fence right on your property line, and it's a shared property, and you can do whatever you want on either side of the fence. You can paint them, whatever you want. But if your neighbor builds a fence entirely on his property, you can't touch that fence, no matter what it has on your viewable side. So if it's completely within your right to plant trees around it. And I suppose maybe these trees are invading their property line, or they're getting up into their view on from their balcony. I can see where this probably started, but there is no view ordinance in Redondo Beach that requires you to maintain personal property views. So I don't understand. Is it just a law in the books that, hey, hedges got to be 4 feet and that's it everywhere? Or maybe you can explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, so there's a Redondo Beach municipal code. I don't know if you want the code. It's on the greenredondo.com. Okay. But it basically says that in the front setback of your home, hedges or fences cannot be taller than 42 inches. And if it's a corner lot, 36 inches. And then on the side and rear setbacks, can't be taller than 6 feet.
And where is your hedge at? Or the one that's in question? Is it in the front?
Oh, we're at about 15, 16, probably around there. 16.
But where is it on the property? Is it in the front or in the back?
Oh, front and side and rear.
Okay. So I understand in the front that there are certain sight lines for people backing out of their driveways and things like that, or just being able to see. But I always thought it was just a courtesy to for people to kind of maintain, like I do at my house. I had a big bush that was blocking my view. So I chopped it all out so I could actually see people coming down the street when I'm backing out of my driveway. There is reason for that. But as far as anything beyond or on the back of your lot, I don't understand this at all. And it sounds like, were you able to trace the origin of this ordinance, how old it might actually be?
That I don't know how to trace that. So.
All right, but it's been there for a long time. Okay, so
we planted these trees over a decade ago.
Okay, well,
and
a decade ago.
Yeah, a decade
ago.
Wow. And I know the neighbor's been there for over a decade too. So he was quite familiar with these hedges.
Sure.
And
I mean, these are all over the place. Like as Tanya's showing I'm sorry to interrupt you, Andre, but like Tanya is showing photos from the greenredondo.com. And I mean, I'm just like looking outside. I mean, there's just so many on every street. I feel like this is normal. It's really surprising to hear that 42 inches is the limit. And then Andre, what's interesting is on the website, you have the corner of North Broadway and Carnelian Street, which is the corner lot on a public property, right? The Redondo Beach City Hall. They have tall hedges that are not within the guidelines. You wrote here, it is 140 feet long on the Carnelian side alone. It is taller than 6 feet even, as referenced by the man walking on the sidewalk. So it's good that you had that person there as a, yes, you could see that person. But it is an illegal hedge. So I'm so confused as to why they would come after you. You emailed them, you asked them a question. Nobody responded to you, it sounds like, right? Who did you email? Who did you message?
I emailed the code enforcement. That was my first. Actually, it was a certified letter, physical letter. I know they received it, and then because I received this notice of arraignment, the next letters I sent were to all the city council members, the city manager, and the mayor. And that was a week and a half ago, and I've received zero communication from the city.
I'm confused. I thought we were trying to save the green here. I thought we were a green city. I thought we wanted more greenery and natural resources. What is going on? I don't understand. What's going on?
So I had talked with Andre, right? Andre, we talked a few days ago, and I said, remember they were trying to pass that tree ordinance saying like you can't cut down a tree even if the tree is destroying your property with its roots growing and destroy. No, they wanted to like pass this tree ordinance that if you cut down a tree, you got to put up a tree. Otherwise you face these big fines. I don't think it went through. But my point is that we literally just had these conversations, a year ago, year and a half ago, 2 years ago, maybe. And now they're saying to cut down the greenery. So that's a very good question.
Well, it was before the current council, and I can remember Christian and Laura were on the council at that time.
Right.
Strangely, this came up on the same day they tried to get Christian off the council. So there was a ton of people that showed up at 3:00. Then the next meeting shows up, a ton of different people showed up because the rule they wanted to make was it was going to be $1,000 permit if you wanted to remove a tree from your property. And this has hammered private property owners like me because I have to do tree maintenance on my property annually. It costs me a ton to, just trim my trees. Removal of some of the big ones that do become big problems, just to put another $1,000 on that to the city so they can say, okay, plus what they wanted to do is require you to replace that tree with something else. Right. And some people just like, this is insane. So yeah, the community and especially homeowners, they came out in force to say no.
So this right here, I'm sorry, this right here is illegal?
Yeah, but it's contrary to what they were trying to do. They didn't, at one hand, wanted like, we need to maintain our trees and our greenery in the city and be a green city, which I think next week Redondo is going to be recognized as a green city. And now somebody's got, their pants in a wad about, the
so
size.
This right here, I'm sorry, I'm blown away. This right here is illegal? Is that what you're telling me?
It needs to be 42 inches tall.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which, by the way, 42 inches, like that's like very, very short. It's like barely over 3 feet, right? So 3.5 feet something. So it's shocking. That's why I was saying, I'm like,
Who comes up with this stuff?
I feel like everybody has an illegal hedge, because who has a hedge that's
it may just be and you can see it may get, if you see where the pictures of where the walls actually are, like you can't build a wall that tall. And that's for other reasons, especially sightlines, because that's a permanent thing. But yeah, now these hedges have gotten so professionally maintained, they're essentially just walls, and that's fine. That's what people want. They want privacy, and they want their own kind of space for themselves. They paid for it. It's their home. It's interesting to see if homeowners association is going to do that. I don't know if you guys have those, Tanya and Mariam. Do you live by yourself?
I don't, but I know that there's some in Redondo.
Yeah, a lot of people have them. So this would be.
Actually, I do. I'm lying, because I live on a 3 on a lot.
So Andre, have you? So no one from code enforcement has come to speak with you, and maybe that would be the best next step, because always keep the channel of communication open with the city. You don't want to stonewall them, because then they'll make your life a little more difficult. And try to work with, like, okay, what do I have to do now? Personally, do you feel you're being screwed on this one?
I feel like we're being singled out for sure.
Okay, and it seems
why do you think you'd be singled out?
Well, because it doesn't seem like they're going after anyone else for this. Like if we have to comply, I feel as though everyone else should be complying too.
Yeah, and that's usually the trigger is now, and this is the situation we get in with, and it was going to be the tree ordinance. The way it was actually designed was to pit neighbor against neighbor, which is a terrible way to have laws. So somebody, everybody have to start saying, hey, I want this torn down. And then you get into this situation where people are actually selecting which kind of trees they want cut down and or don't want cut down because they're not staying. So I think there's a amicable resolution to your situation. But just keep trying to speak with the city and say, relay to the person that filed the complaint that you're trying to do, but you don't know what the remedy actually is, other than completely demolishing your hedge, which is a decade old. That to me seems rather unreasonable. But this is the type of thing that, city councils have to deal with. This is, it comes down to these neighborly type things, these little disputes that need clarity and they need updating. We've updated our general plan. Let's update these hedge ordinances to be realistic in today's, property situations. So, and Andre, is there more that you want to tell us about this?
Yeah. So on June the 4th, Redondo Beach did this year. Redondo Beach did become a Tree City, USA. Mm-hmm. So they were designated as a tree city, and I feel as though because we have so many trees and hedges and landscaping, that's how we got designated in the first place. And now they want us to basically chop them all down if everyone has to comply.
Again, I would maybe you can go down to a council meeting and take a little time out of your personal life and show up in participation on non-agenda items. You plead your case, and get it out there. I'm sure they've heard from you. I'm sure they know who you are. But if more people realize what's going on, and especially people that got to pay for this kind of stuff out of their own pocket, you'll probably get some traction on this. But there's a good way of doing it, and as opposed to just trying to storm the castle. Just talk it out with whoever you need to talk it out with, because I'll be watching this close. This will directly affect my life too. I have a very similar situation, and I don't want, and I've got new neighbors coming in on the other side of my property. So I'll be watching this like a hawk, because
I'm so confused, y'all. I'm so sorry, but doesn't the greenery actually add to the aesthetic of the city?
Yeah.
So why would they want anyone to remove it? And then what's the penalty? So what is the maximum penalty that can happen if you decide to say, I'm not getting rid of my bushes. I'm not doing it. What's the maximum? What happens?
I don't know what the penalty is.
Okay. But again, if there's no penalty financially, if you needed a permit for something else, the planning department can deny you that permit because you're in violation of some other code on your property.
Right.
So that's a problem, because you say, hey, I had a water leak and, you know, my roof caved in or whatever. I have a second story that's all destroyed and I need to get permitted for a new stairwell or something like that. I mean, these things do happen. So be aware of that, because they can make your life pretty difficult if they
Andre,
want. And it sounds like they already have. I mean, believe me, I'm very sympathetic for your situation, Andre.
Yeah, Andre, have you gone to the city council meeting to bring this forward as an issue to the council?
It's been too early, and so I didn't realize there was a city council meeting last night. Otherwise, I would have gone.
Okay.
But I will go to the next one.
Yeah. Tuesdays.
And the one thing I wanted to add was there's 2 brand new homes that were built down the street on Dufour and Vale, I believe. Yeah, they're asking 2.4 million each. And if you scroll down to the photos, all the newer homes are towards the bottom. And when I spoke with the realtor, they basically said that these trees that they're putting in there are intended to become a hedge to block out the other neighbors.
Right, because they're trying to create some semblance of privacy, right? Because before there used to be one house on the lot. Now we're putting 2 or 3 houses on a lot. Everything's super close together. There's like very narrow driveways, right? Like you can see how close. So they're trying to make it be like, if you're so close to your neighbor, a hedge is a really nice way to, sound barrier, but also just to have the semblance of like, this is my property and I'm not looking into your house, you're not looking into mine, that we can actually have some privacy. It's trying to create the privacy that is lost because of the way we're building around here, which I mean, hey, that's great, right? People need.
Andre, you're talking about something like this?
Yeah, that's the one that they're selling for 2.4 million right now.
Okay.
And if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see the house that they're trying to block out. And I don't blame them for wanting to have that nice privacy barrier. And it all of this greenery it certainly increases property values too.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And the picture of that is almost the exact situation that I have in my home. And my neighbor and we both planted those exact trees on either side of the fence. And it's not that we have any problem with each other. It's just that all we see is a wall, so we just wanted to green it up and now those trees are well beyond the fence. They're probably 3 times the height of the fence by now. And it makes basically the walkway down the side of our homes much more pleasant. And I would be really upset if I had to cut those trees down if somebody said, no, they're too tall because it's blocking my bathroom window or whatever it is. So, yeah, I'll be watching this closely.
Because see, you're saying what your point is, like these trees are small, they're newly planted, but fast forward a few years, they're going to grow to be more than 42 inches and whatnot.
Yes, they will grow. And I know that tree and I planted it for that reason. And so did my neighbor, because we know that those trees are probably 25 feet now.
Wow.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
wow. So before we get too far, I do want to show the people this website, and then you can, Andre, talk to us about why you started this website and what kind of information you have for residents. And then there's this.
That's why I was like, we need to go to the website to check out all the stuff.
And then there's this. Go ahead and tell us what this is for people that want to know. Right.
So when I requested the city just talk to me about this so we can just come up with something amicable, this was their response to me. So they filed in the Torrance Superior Court criminal charges against me. And so on this coming Monday, I have an arraignment date because of my hedges, because of my trees.
Wow.
Paul, thoughts?
It's hard to fathom. It'd be if I was in this, if I was in this situation or people that have less understanding of the city, it seems crazy that Andre has gotten into this for reasons that it never should have gotten this far. I mean, and it seems like I don't know what else is driving this, because it just seems incredibly unreasonable. Even the mere fact you have to show up to an arraignment date, that is just crazy. So I don't know. It'd be nice, and maybe we'll reach out to the city or hear from the city their position on this, because it seems that it definitely needs some clarity. And they may just say, hey, it's the law and it's on the books, and which leads us into our next conversation, if we want to get started on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Really quick. Like he said, though, on the side, and we always say, talk to your neighbors. And it's going to require, things like this require advocacy for change, right? And you don't know who else agrees with you, who else is going through these types of things until you do have conversations with your neighbor and show up at city council meetings. And, you know, you got to do all the things to resolve these kind of problems. You can't just sit back in a silo and be mad about it, complain about it, or think it is just you until you find out that it really is. So do all the things. Here are the contact emails for city council and the mayor and city manager if you want to reach out and get some more clarity, because I'm assuming some of y'all that see this might also have hedges and want to understand what's next. Is it just him, or is it me too?
Yeah. And regarding this, Andre, keep us posted, because I would love to hear how this works out for you.
I will certainly.
Yeah, and Andre, really quick, good job on doing something about this, right? Like I'm always so happy when residents take action, and your website's very informative, and I've seen you actively trying to engage neighbors and people that are affected, and people are definitely talking about it. So just props to you for doing that.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of hard work, and if we want change in the city, we need to advocate for change, and this is the one step to do it.
Believe me, I think everybody here really wants change in our city. So, speaking of changes,
yes,
that's a perfect yes.
There's the police chief sent out a press release that they will be enforcing parking restrictions on street sweeping days to the full extent of the hours posted. So that has upset a lot of people, because they haven't done that. The practice has been that if the street sweeper goes by, and then you can park after it's passed. Now, we're all going to have probably different positions on this. I know I'm going to. So why don't I'll let you guys talk about it first and how it affects you, because I'm in South Redondo, or actually in North Redondo has a much more pressing parking situation. So I'd like to hear from the three of you about this.
Woo. Go on, Miriam. You're on mute, boo.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so, for me, I feel lucky because we do have a driveway and I can park my vehicle there. I'm also lucky my children are still small, so they do not have vehicles. And therefore, for right now, we're okay. Across the street, we have an apartment complex with however many units. And I know those folks certainly struggle with parking. We try our best never to park in front of our house so that we can keep the parking spots open for our neighbors. But parking is definitely an issue. So that's, first. And we do have a lot of buildings that are coming, houses get knocked down, build 2 or 3 more. Well, with that comes parking issues. So as much as we love to try to increase housing, parking then becomes a problem. And as much as you want to say, hey, Green City, ride your bike, do this or that or the other thing, I mean, we live in Southern California, we live in LA, people have cars, and we need spots. So one of the things that's also important is we like to have a clean city. We love having a clean city. We love that we have a street sweeper that comes through and sweeps away the trash, which we don't want getting into the ocean and things of that nature. But with that comes tickets. So, I understand that it's a big issue, and I really do feel for the people that are impacted by it. Andre was telling us something interesting that happens on his street. So I think, I think it's important for everyone to hear from him, but I definitely feel everyone's pain with this street sweeping problem.
Yeah. So I'm in North Redondo, right by the Performing Arts Center, and our street has no parking from 9 to 12. And then on the side street, there's no parking from 11 to 2. So that means basically for 1 hour, no one has any place to park. And I remember one day I was trying to find parking, and I looked for four or five blocks all the way to Anderson Park, couldn't find a spot. And that was at 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's wild.
So it's a serious impact on us.
Yes.
Yeah, this is just sad. I know because in GPAC we had various conversations about different ways to expand parking in North Redondo. Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations. We've had a lot of expensive conversations that end with nothing happening, and residents wind up having to pay. That's it. That's all I got.
Remind us, GPAC. What does that stand for again, Tanya, for folks that may not know?
General Advising.
General Plan Advisory Committee.
General Plan Advisory Committee. Yes, that.
And Tanya was in that for
and Paul.
And Paul.
Yeah, both of us were a part of that for 8 years.
Yeah, that's why I said many years.
That whole thing, that's a whole another show, and we really do need to discuss it.
But no, let's just put it out. Let's just be clear. It was supposed to be about 10 meetings. That's actually what it was budgeted for.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So we went around and did all the things we were supposed to do, but it tended to get really complicated and expanded by our current mayor, Jim Light.
Yeah.
And his
crew.
He was
on the committee with us. There was definitely people that wanted progress in the city and other people that wanted not progress. And it broke down a lot of times, almost every meeting. They were incredibly contentious, except for a couple of meetings. The general plan is what the housing element was born out of that, and that whole catastrophe that brought 4,000 units to North Redondo and 0 to South Redondo. Wow, what a surprise. And also the FAR for Beach Cities Health District came from those conversations, but we didn't decide any of that. That was all something that it seems like the council made up, and that's what we're dealing with now. So that's a whole very long and complicated thing. And
but I wanted to expand on it because of two important things. One, it wasted a lot of city residents' money. It wasted tax dollars.
Over $1 million. Well over $1 million.
And it still ends with North Redondo getting more housing, South Redondo getting less, and we already don't have parking for the people that live here.
Yes.
That's why I'm bringing it up. We spent money, a lot of money, to still wind up with nothing new, and residents are winding up having to pay even more, but they're not getting more. This is why it is important to engage in what is going on instead of ignoring it because it seems complex. But if you don't understand and you don't have a say, then you still have people like a Jim Light that are making it complicated, spending money that residents wind up having to pay, and you still don't get any benefit from it. So we are in North Redondo about to get thousands of more residents, and we have no more parking, and we're paying in tickets and other things. Yeah. These are the types of things that it sounds like it's aloof, like it's okay for you to be aloof about it. But then when you start getting tickets and you're trying to find parking and you walk in heck far to your own homes, when you trickle back down to how this became such a problem, and then you have leaders that are making it worse, it becomes imminent that you at least reach out to city council to petition that they pay more attention to what residents need rather than what they want.
Yeah. And this came from the police chief. So it's the council is playing dumb to this announcement, and it probably didn't, go through council at all. It's a long existing law. It's on every sign, on every street sweeping sign. But this practice of new enforcement or expanded enforcement is what's really gotten people upset because, they get parking tickets, and the fines for those have gone up. But it is a law, and this is where I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers. It's an existing law, and you should comply with those things. Now, the fix I'm understanding is that don't watch for the street sweeper. Watch for the parking enforcement mobile or whatever it is, the car or whoever goes by, and then pull in after them, because they're not going to double back and, come back at 10:59 and write you a ticket. So, if it's street sweeping day, just wait for the enforcement person to pass, and then they're not going to come back and ticket you. It's not a promise, but that's my understanding and the best way to deal with this right now. I listen to Athens, and Athens has presented this. Athens is the people to do our street sweeping. There's no way to make street sweeping faster. They can't do it. The street sweepers have to run at a very specific speed. They have the most efficient routes they can find. They can't reverse these things. They can't start in different times. It would just screw everything up. So the street sweeper is going to do what they're going to do. Enforcement's going to do what it's going to do. And what happens is, on these longer roads, you may have 4 or 5 cars that are in violation. So the parking enforcement person's writing tickets, and they're falling further and further behind the street sweeper. And so people, see the street sweeper pass, but the parking enforcement hasn't, because they're busy writing tickets, because people, don't want this, or, didn't respect the law. And this hits me personally because I live at the bottom of a hill. So anytime there's any kind of, somebody washes a car or something like that, everything ends up right in front of my house, literally right in my driveway. So leaves, debris, whatever's in the gutters, it flows down the hill and ends up, and I live on the level part of the street. So the street sweeper is important to me. I want my yard clean. I want my driveway cleaned. So I respect the law as it is. And I think people have to adapt their timing. That's what it's going to take right now. And I have a feeling, and this comes back to revenues and enforcement. We're dealing with, less people doing enforcement. They just don't have the manpower to have 2 cars following every street sweeper around so they can quickly write tickets and move on. It's just that's what we're faced with, and we have to deal with this. It's, for people to complain that they got a ticket because they were in parking violation, it's pretty hard for me to understand. It's like, hey, it's posted there. I don't do it. You shouldn't do it if you don't want a ticket. So.
Okay, but I will say this, and those are very good points. Yes, you're right. This has been something going on for many, many years. We know it's the law, etc. What's interesting is when the folks complained that, hey, can we change the time of when the street sweeper goes by for the high school students, right? Because what was happening was there was like a day where there was like a posted number of hours for street sweeping, and so the high school students couldn't park, and it was a problem because parking is an issue for the Redondo high school students.
Yeah.
And so then, went to city council, and they were able to work out a compromise to say, okay, the street sweeper will come by for just 1 hour of time way before school starts on a particular day. I think it's like one of their late start days. It'll come through, sweep, be done, and then you can park. So I do think a solution could be like in this situation that Andre, that you were just describing, where, okay, there's this like overlap of time between my side of the street and the side streets where nobody can park for that whole hour. I think that maybe action can be taken to say, can we modify those hours? And so we want our streets swept. We enjoy living in a clean city. And I do agree with you, Paul, that we do need street sweeping. I mean, that is important. We do want our streets clean, but I do think some of these posted hours are unreasonable, like what Andre was describing. What are your thoughts around that?
I think any changes to the it's going to cost us one way. If you want to dance, you got to pay the piper. So if we're going to ask Athens to shorten the time that they street sweep, say you need to shave an hour off this, which doesn't actually solve the problem. It's just going to cost. Athens going to turn around and say, well, we had to add another street sweeper because we have such a short time to sweep all the streets. And it just comes back to like, okay, here's the assessment on this, and it ends up coming out of our pockets. I'm not happy to pay more for our trash collection, because Athens does our trash collection too. To make it more convenient for people to follow laws that they're on the books, guys. You got to follow the law. Would people be up in arms if the city or the police decided to start ticketing everyone that runs stop signs in Redondo. I mean, they'd say, oh, why are they doing this now? Well, it's the law. It's a stop sign. You got to stop. And no one does. I mean, I see this everywhere. Everyone rolls through stop signs.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's complaining about the fact that, about what you're saying. I think it's some of the stuff is unreasonable. And I don't think we're saying let's shorten the time, but can we modify the times? Like, why is there overlap? Andre, what were the hours again? You said on your street it's like 9 to 12, on the other street it's like 11 to 2.
Yeah,
like,
11
that's
to 1
ridiculous.
or 2, yeah.
It should be like 9 to 12, 12 to 3. That kind of makes sense, right? Because then it's like, okay, I can move my car or
to
whatever.
the other side. Message from our viewer Maggie: the issue is enforcement policy. For years has been wait until the sweeper goes by, then you can park. This has worked well, but some complaint caused a knee-jerk reaction, and the police started a new policy of enforcement without notice to people and without considering the hardship that it would cause. That is unacceptable and lacks leadership. So I do agree that there's a thoughtlessness process in here. There was no thought of the consideration, especially when you have situations where there's a crossover. Like, are we looking at it to make sure that it's even plausible what we're putting out there? Or are we setting people up to fail? I think that's what she's saying. They're setting them up to fail and not giving them enough notice to try to figure out how we can work that out. I mean, I just have to park behind my husband, and that becomes uncomfortable, obviously, if I'm working or something and he has to leave. It's what we do because I've paid probably a tuition's worth of tickets. So now I just get uncomfortable and inconvenient. I hate it, but it is how they have set it up. Really quick before we get out of here, Paul, is there any update from City Council yesterday?
Well, there's a real possibility, and I'll just say, here's what we've been talking about. Here's maybe one person that complained, and suddenly it turns into a citywide problem. And it relates to what Mr. LeRoux is going through, and now all of us are dealing with this street sweeping situation. So, you might want to work things out with before you blow the city up. It's a better way of doing things. The takeaway from last night's council meeting, my understanding is that there's a real possibility we will not be inputting using ranked choice voting in the March 2025 election, which seriously changes the dynamic of it. The learning curve for the public is just a bit steep for the time we have. And then we have to also implement the mechanical systems that actually do this, and which would have to be done by October. And it doesn't look like the city's going to be able to pull that off. Even though we voted for ranked choice voting, I don't think everyone understood the implications of it. And there are ways to basically game the system so you can actually make sure one of your candidates always wins. So it's not the greatest, most democratic way of doing things. It really just saves on if there's a runoff election and things like that. It's going to take we'll probably dedicate a show to this unless we just say there's a moratorium and we're not going to do it. But yeah, the ranked choice voting may not happen in March 2025, and it should it will definitely impact that race because it changes. We go back to the system we have. Somebody has to win 50% plus one to win. If there's three candidates and no one gets 50%. Then it goes to a runoff, which, they are expensive to the candidate. But hey, you put your hat into the race, and we hope to do a show about running for office. And that's just what it takes. So if you're in a race for a council seat or for mayor and there's more than two candidates, be prepared for a runoff because Redondo usually splits votes really, really well. But that was the big thing from last night that I noticed. Looks like right. Peter has a note here. Police shouldn't be policymakers. I don't think they were the policymakers on this. They think they just enforce what they're the laws. It really, as Mariam said, in the announcement should have come. There should have been much more public awareness done on this, as opposed to like, hey, this is the way it's going to be right now. And maybe they can just they could put warnings out for a week or two. To say, yeah, you're in violation next time you're going to parking.
Yeah, that would have been good, right? Just like a little warning, like, hey.
Yeah, and those are just, they don't even have to be like personalized. These just like, your car's in violation. Here's a ticket.
Yeah.
Or here's a notice. Next time you're going to get a ticket, that would be good. I think it'd be a much more acceptable way of teaching the public, because not everybody, no one saw this press release from the police chief. He does the normal channels. He's doing his job, but people just aren't as aware of everything as the four of us are. So maybe they could do something like that. I don't know. I'm sure this is going to play out every week because the street sweeper keeps showing up.
And side note, I mean, I don't know who's in the city office that actually does this, but their communications could be a lot better. Other than Kyle with the police department and social media, there's so much that goes unnoticed and unnotified to the residents. Like, community engagement is important, but the city and the police department have to do their part in communicating information out. I think that was the great thing about the community engagement board, is that they also had ambassadors like us to communicate messages like that out to the community. But when it's just them deciding they're going to put out a press release that no one reads, it makes it really difficult for the community to get that information and then have time to make those adjustments. So, that being said, I hope they just do a better job utilizing all of the outlets and all of the modalities of communication to connect with residents. It is very important.
That being said, and I'm in full support of that, residents have a responsibility to engage too. Just like Mr. LeRoux here, he's engaged. He's getting the word out. The three of us do our best to let people know what's going on and keep people aware. But really, you gotta pay attention, because there's things that could change in the city you really don't agree with, and if you miss your chance to speak about it, it's once they're on the books, they're really, really difficult to change. I don't think we're going to change the parking enforcement hours at all. I don't think the situation is going to change. The tree and the hedges. I see the real opportunity to change that ordinance and make it work with today's people's desire for privacy today and property rights.
Absolutely. Mariam, any updates before we get out of here?
I don't have any updates. I saw, Andre, you wanted to say something. I saw you trying to speak.
Oh, I wanted to just add, as far as the parking enforcement for street sweeping, the original intent of street sweeping is for what is it? The Clean
Water Act.
Yeah, and so that's the original intent. So like, once the street sweeper passes, you should be in the clear. But it just seems as though the ticketing, it just seems like a money grab to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, I do actually have a quick announcement. I forgot. Keep the Esplanade beautiful. We have a first Saturday sweep this Saturday at 9 a.m. We meet at Esplanade and Avenue I, 9 a.m. on the dot. We try to be done in an hour to respect everyone's time. So if you want to come join us for some good, clean fun, we would love to have you. Again, 9 a.m. this Saturday, and it will be from 9 to 10 a.m. Esplanade and Avenue I. Hope to see you there.
How do people get more involved in that organization and what they do consistently for the community?
Oh, well, every first Saturday we have the sweep. So it's open to the community. Anybody can come. But if anybody is interested actually in participating, like taking a bigger role, helping out, maybe even joining our board, we do have some opportunities. Please email me at keb4rb@gmail.com. That's K like keep, E Esplanade, B for beautiful, the number 4, R Redondo, and then B. So keb4rb@gmail.com.
And I'll put that in the captions. For me, I just wanted to remind people that if you are not, because this is your district and Holly Mitchell is your supervisor, make sure that you sign up to get her newsletter and events that happen in this district. She has a racial justice learning exchange, and there's all different types of events that happen throughout our district, which is amazing. But also right now they're having the back to school resource fair. So, we're going back to school. And for people that need a little extra help with the thousands of school supplies that I know are on the list, make sure you tap into that, because they're having the resource fair. It's on July. It's actually tonight. So there's that, but there'll be more opportunities for if you need resources and if you need help with anything, that is absolutely what they're there for. So make sure you hit up that site and get on the newsletter. So I'm going to put all that information in the captions. I want to thank everyone for being here. Anything else before we get out of here? And when are we back? Do we have a date for that yet?
Let's do it in about 3 weeks.
Okay. So in about 3 weeks.
Let's try to do something. Ranked choice voting is kind of on the back burner right now, but we'll see how that plays out. I want to talk about running for office, and maybe we can get some of the new candidates on. We hope to get all candidates and let them know, like, we want you to be on the show. Please contact us. Anyone that's going to run for District 4 or 1 or 2, and for mayor, you're more than welcome to be on here. We'll be fair and be nice, but we're not going to pull any punches when it comes to what we think Redondo should do.
100%. All right, guys. Until next time, thank you for being here, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, thanks for showing up to the podcast where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. When you get a sec, take a moment, leave a comment. What do you think about today's episode? And share it with someone that you know could use the gems that were dropped today. Follow and subscribe. You don't want to miss who's coming up next. You never know who could show up here and what they could say. For your professional needs, marketing, PR, communications, and leadership, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Sand and Shores, or hit us up at sandandshores.com. Again, thanks so much for showing up. We appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.